What do we have here? Where did you come from? I get to start with a station, have a trader, and get to play as a reptilian overlord? That's just neat. Well, how do I use this station? What do I do with it? You unlock the Unworthy Entrepreneur after you complete the PHQ questline, so you can start right away playing Space Tycoon if you want. Player stations will be a part of everyone's playthrough, and you kinda have to go out of your way to not use them. Now, using stations is very simple, yet at the same time surprisingly complicated. Before we go into how to build your first one, there are a few basics we should go over, like blueprints.
Greetings.
Everything you build requires a blueprint, and while you start with a few, you'll need to get the rest. Buying them is simple enough, assuming you have the credits, otherwise you can try stealing from data leaks. Just make sure you finish the research. Then there are workers. You'll need food and medical supplies to maintain them, but the increased profits far outweigh the costs. Using the station calculator, you can see on the right the increased profit difference from a workforce. I'll link the website in the description below if you want to use it. They are so important that every station except a solar array should have them, and I'll get to why later when we start discussing how to build them. You'll also need to know what to make and what leads to what. You can use these flowcharts with an excess of arrowed lines to see how the different tiers interact. This is for Commonwealth and Split stations. The Terrans have a much more simplified flowchart, but since the wares are different, they can only trade among themselves. Once you do have stations, don't forget your managers. They will increase the range of your attached ships 1 sector per star. You can assign one of your own personnel or hire one from one of the random NPCs you find at any station. Traders sell seminars, so you can get your managers up to 2 stars immediately. Managers do level fast, so I wouldn't go out of your way to find missions that have higher level seminars unless you really wanted to. Whenever I build a station, I first plan it out using the station builder. That way, once you do build it, the plans will let you know which blueprints you're missing. Select the module you want with left click again to set it once it is green. At the bottom of the screen is the stat sheet for the selected module. You'll need those numbers to figure out your needed inputs and workforce requirements. Left click the module and hold it to move it around. Right click on a module will rotate it. Shift right click will rotate it by 30 degrees. Left click and hold empty space to move the camera. Right click and hold to rotate the camera. You can also use your WASD keys to move around. To the upper right, you can see the build queue. These little icons here are how you add turrets and shields. Don't forget to move the blue bar if it can support more than one turret, and confirm changes at the bottom right. Modules are built in the order you place them. Unfortunately, you can't change the order directly. But there is a little trick. Let's use the pier as an example. It's 5th on the build queue, but we want it at the bottom. All we have to do is left click to select it, then click and hold to move it out, then snap it back in. And now it's at the bottom of the build queue. We can even do this to entire sections. If we select this connection structure, click and drag, then snap back, all the highlighted modules will be placed at the bottom of the build queue. If you make a mistake, you can always press the undo button up there or use Ctrl Z. If you have already placed your modules and want to add a pier, it may be difficult as it requires a lot of room. In this case, just place it away in a corner, rotate it into the position you want, then snap it into place. With those basics out of the way, we can finally start building something. First we need a plot. Select that compass icon on the left. Your base cost will change depending on how far you are from a jump gate or highway. I personally don't ever feel the need to pay that extra cost unless you're trying to build one of these death traps. A lot of players like to make their stations self-sufficient, so we will start with this simple setup. By simple I mean it only requires silicon. These can get rather large and will have a high startup cost. Modules will be built in the order you place them, so I always start with the dock. Then we add in storage modules, a container for the trade wares, and a solid for the silicon. You'll need a pier for your station to use large ships, so don't forget to place that. A wafer production to refine the silicon is needed to get all this started. A single wafer module can support 1 microchip and 7 smart chip factories, which is a bit lopsided. So we are going to put in 2 wafer modules, as that will allow us to use 3 microchip and 5 smart chip factories for only 80 excess wafers per hour. If you feel the need for another dock, I suggest keeping them separate to reduce any traffic jams. We add up all the required workforce and see that we need 2,100 workers, so we add in some habitation modules, which will give us room for 2,250. This leaves us an extra 150 workers, so we install some solar panels to use up that extra workforce. Another popular starting station that's self-sufficient is the hull parts factory. This needs ore and methane, but you don't need to place it in a sector that has both. All of your managers should at least have 2 stars by using training seminars. This allows your attached miners the ability to travel up to 2 sectors away to find the resources they need, so you have a bit of freedom on where you can place it. If you do want a sector that has everything, then I would recommend 18 billion. It has the ore and methane plus a shipyard and wharf to sell it to, all in the same sector. Just follow the same guidelines with the silicon factory when setting it up. Make sure your production modules have enough refineries to support them, building enough habitation modules to house the needed workforce, and placing solar panels to use up any excess workers. If you want to rely on traders to keep your station supplied, you can build something like this. Stations that rely on imports can be much smaller, which means they will be cheaper and faster to build. You will be buying your input wares until you can set up a production chain, which will cut into your profits, but what you make tends to sell for more, so it's really up to your own preference on what kind of station you want to start with. To figure out what to produce, check the information tab on NPC wharfs and shipyards to see what they're low on. If you right-click the station and select Logical Overview, then open the economy statistics at the bottom and select the ware you're interested in, you can see the trends to make sure it's not just a temporary drop. The more of the station you have scanned, the more information you will have available, but you only need around 33% scan to see what's in storage. Now, I stated in a previous video that you wanted to place 2 miners for every refinery so as to not drive down demand, which in turn will lower the price. When supplying your own stations, especially if you are limiting the buy orders to only your ships, that is no longer a concern. The cost of the tradeware you are producing is what matters, not the cost of the raw resource. Gas miners gather faster than mineral miners, so you can still stay at 2 per refinery. But if you need ore and silicon, then you'll want 3 or even 4 miners per refinery. If your sector has a good placement of resource probes and the mineral wealth is high enough, you can get away with less, but I personally use more miners as it's just easier. To assign a ship, have it selected, right-click the station, go to Mine for Commander, and select a group name. Only miners can be given the mine command, but any ship can be given the trade command. If you have a ship that you don't know what to do with, instead of letting it just sit around, assign it to a station as a trader. There we go. I'm sure he'll do fine there. When it comes to making Terran stations, there are 2 things we have to point out. First, their solar panels are not great. This isn't a bad thing as they are given mercury, which increases production by 680%. So for Terrans, your first station will almost always be a solar power plant. Since energy cells don't have any input requirements, you don't need workers. If you need more energy cells, just build more solar panels. Second is the Computronic substrate factories. You shouldn't put 2 types of mineral or gas refineries in your stations as the AI doesn't handle it very well. Your miners tend to oversupply one raw resource and ignore the other, but Computronic substrates require both ore and silicon, so how do you get around this? Well, you really don't. You have to set up buy orders and have other factions fill in the gaps. Egosoft says they will fix this in version 4.1. Hopefully this won't be a concern for long. Coming back to energy cells, we have our production facility up at Mercury, but we want to send them all the way down here. How do you get your product to the customers that will pay the most for it? It's more than 5 sectors away, so we can't rely on a manager sending your traders that far. So we build a trading station. All it has is a dock, storage, and a pier. You can assign traders on it, but it will sometimes do wonky things like this. Trading stations are really good at taking your excess wares and putting it all in a central location for the AI to buy from. So now we need to figure out how to set up trade rules to make that happen. First, go to Player Information, select Global Orders, then create New Trade Rule. enable restrict all factions, give it a name, then save it. If we go to one of our stations, we right click and select Logical Overview, we then get this screen. We are going to select hydrogen as our 2 miners are more than enough to supply the station. At the bottom of our buy offer, we see Use Station Settings. Click the white circle to allow modifications, and this now lets us use our new trade rule. This station will only buy hydrogen from our own miners, but there needs to be money in the station account as the manager still treats it as any other buy order. While we are here, we are also going to do the same for our energy cells as well as make a sell order for any excess. We create a sell order, and for the sell amount we put in 150,000. This means that the manager will try to sell any energy cells when there are more than 150,000 in storage. Our blue bar now has a bit of green, acting as a visual aid of how many of our energy cells are now up for sale. For our trading station, we need to open Select Tradewares, choose Energy Cells, scroll down, make sure to click Confirm, and restrict the buy order to only our faction. We don't need to do anything with the sell order as everything here is for sale. Now we need to actually move the energy cells from Mercury to Jupiter, and for that we are going to use repeat orders. We are going to use this large freighter to move those energy cells back and forth for us. With the freighter selected, go to your Behavior tab. Under Default Behavior, we choose Repeat Orders. We then right-click our solar power plant, choose Buy From, and we get the Trade Instruction screen. Select Energy Cells, then set the buy amount and buy price to the maximum. Now right-click our trading station and sell to the trading station itself, not the build storage. The same screen will come up, so we will select energy cells, but now set the sell amount and the sell price to the minimum. Doing this will make our freighter buy and sell energy cells among these 2 stations regardless of the price. To help remove some of these energy cells, we're going to set up another repeat order using the small trader to move those goods into the org cloud. We do the same thing with the buy order, but for the sell order, we right-click the sector, not a station. Select energy cells, set the sell amount to the minimum, and for the price we are going to reduce it a bit to 13. This will make the trader take energy cells from our trade station and sell it to any station in the org cloud that has a buy order for at least 13 credits. You may have noticed that when a station sells a tradeware, that money goes into the station account. That's helpful to keep this process automated, but we eventually want that money in our wallet. Your managers will automatically transfer credits to you, seen here in the transaction log in red, but I haven't quite figured out the formula for when it happens. I just know that eventually it will. If you don't want to wait, you can go back to Logical Overview, select Station Account, and click Accept Estimate. If the money in the account is greater than the estimate, you will get the difference deposited into your wallet. To do this for all stations at once, go to your player information, select Account Information, then click Accept All Estimates. Lastly, click Confirm to finalize the transfer. Well, that was a long video. Lots of information we had to go over. Just take it one station, one step at a time. Once you see the patterns, once you get a technique, station management will go from being complicated to very simple. Now I hope you found this video useful, or can share it with someone that you know that would. And if you liked the video, if you found it helpful, please give a click to all the good buttons at the bottom so that more people can see it. Until next time, fly safe. Terran docks. They are pretty, but no one knows how to use them.